Hello and thanks for tuning in. This is Whatever You Say Man, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at some of the tools that we're going to be using in the weeks to come. So first off, right now we're looking at TradingView. I've got a Bitcoin chart up just to illustrate some of the drawing tools that are available to us. One first thing before we get into that, I just want to point out there's a chat here, as there are on many places. If we go over to Poloniex, we've got another one here. We go over to BitMEX, we've got another one here. Pretty much every trading platform has one, and the first thing you want to do, no matter where you are, is close that, because nobody in there has very much to say that's going to help you. Remember that any trade you make has someone on the other side of it. Anything you sell has a buyer. Good chance that that buyer is in that box trying to get a better price out of you. So there's no point in going to look there. You're just asking for it, and it's just clutter in an activity that can be complicated enough as it is. So back to the drawing tools. As you can see here, the yellow lines I've put in, these I drew in, well, quite a while ago. It was around this time, so quite a few months ago, and my trend line seems to be holding so far. Very simple to do. I'll bring up a fresh chart just so we can see how simple. You saw how I did that. Up here in the corner we've got a search bar where you can just start typing in the code of whatever it is that you want to look at. So brought up burst, and we'll zoom in a bit here. Okay, perfect. So right now we're looking at burst, 30-minute chart, meaning that each of these candles, will zoom in to see the individual candles a little better. Each of these candles represents 30 minutes of trading. This one right here we can see was a big drop. This big red candle going down like that, if I'm not mistaken, that was approximately 10 Bitcoin dump of burst that happened on Poloniex. The price bounced right back up immediately, and then decided to go even higher than it was when this poor guy sold. So we'll zoom back out a bit here. Just do a quick little example here for the lines that we can draw. So, wide variety of drawing tools here. We're not going to get into all of these today. Right now, today we're just going to grab a horizontal ray. We'll pick our target here. Now, to illustrate this, we'll go briefly over a fairly simple concept that will likely help you make quite a bit of money. Now again, these are 30-minute candles. Okay, so if we go out a little bit further, say 2-hour candles, and zoom in, you can see that every few hours the price will drop. Well, it'll move from around 124 to around 136, back down to 125. These wicks here, the price did move up and some sales did happen, but nothing major. The price settled down here for the end of the 30-minute period. So that's what these wicks are indicating here. So the price did go up to 139 here, and again back down as low as 122. That's quite a bit of profit to make, because every time it goes up you can sell some more. Goes back down, you buy even more than you had the first time around. Goes back up, you know, even if you sell here, no big deal if you didn't hit the 139. It's going to go back down. Sell it again when it gets to 140. Buy it again when it gets to 128. And to help keep us lined up with what we're doing there, we use the drawing tools. So pick a brighter color just for the sake of illustration here, and pick a thicker line just to show that we can. And we're going to start looking for where most of the trading happens. So yes, we did touch down here, but most of the low point is more here, right? It corresponds with this dip right here too, which isn't a coincidence. Prices tend to revisit themselves in crypto, forex, stocks, commodities. Doesn't matter the market, they all do it. History repeats itself on the markets just like everywhere else. So we'll start with that line right there at around 125, and we'll put another one here where the majority of the trading is going on. Again, around 134, we'll go 135 because we're feeling patient today, and right, trades don't hit the first time around, we'll wait for the next round. Not the end of the world. We're making decent profit here. Now, as you can see, we're just looking at period between the 29th. Well, we'll go with the 29th of March to today, which is approaching the 5th of April. We could have done this quite a number of times, and 125 to 135 were just off the top of my head, I guess we're looking at about 8% profit every time. So, and that compounds as long as you allow it to. So you say you bought 1,000 here, you sell 1,000 here, you made 8% profit. The price drops back down. You buy 8% more than you did the first time. Then it goes back up. Another 8% profit on a larger piece than you had the first time around. You sell it again. Price drops back down and you buy again 8% more than you did the second time. That's 8% every time. You could have done this, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You would have missed that buy there, so 7 times. I'm not going to do the calculation, but that's quite a bit of profit for a minimal effort. You just place your trades and let them happen. When you see that a trade goes through, you just get ready to place the next one. Once you sell your coins up here, start placing your sell orders. And the way that we avoid missing out on our buy orders here when it only goes down to 126 instead of 125 is we're going to stagger those orders. We'll get into all this later on, but basically we would have placed our buy orders at 128, 27, 26, 25, and maybe one at 124, 123, even 120. And then again with the the sell orders, stagger them upwards. 30, 31, 32, 33. The more you stagger your orders up and down, the better chance you have of being able to turn over those coins faster. So you just keep piling more and more profit onto the profits that you were making already. But we're not really going to get into that too deeply today. Right now we're just taking a look at the platforms that we're going to be using most of the time. TradingView might be a little bit annoying because of these ads that pop up, but as far as I'm concerned, it beats $15 a month when you have a trading balance of about $20 spread across all exchanges. So that's a very simple look at some of the lines we can draw. If we go into the more complicated drawing tools, we get into various Fibonacci drawing tools, which are very popular in trading. As you can see, I've got a ton of them in here. Gann boxes and squares and fans, various different tools that we'll get into a little bit more later on. We're not going to be using all of them because that's just craziness. And in all honesty, oh, drawing lines on my chart here. Looks like I'm drawing a fan. I'll just delete that. And just to illustrate what I'm trying to say with, we're not going to go crazy with all the different drawing tools. Take a look at a chart that I actually use. This is what my chart looks like. I don't have a lot of lines on there. I don't have a lot of bright colors everywhere. I see the prices, I see the movement of, I see the candles, and I see my lines. That's all that matters to me. I don't need a whole bunch of different stuff going on. The only indicator that I use is the Bollinger Bands, and I use them religiously. That's just a matter of personal preference. I find they help. Not everybody does. And if we move along here a bit, we've got more drawing tools. We can put some shapes into there, various curves and arcs. We can go and icon the heck out of it, because this is a social tool. We're able to share our charts here with a little camera at the bottom. You can get a link that will bring people directly to your chart. So if you want to illustrate some sort of trading idea, you're free to draw all sorts of more customizable stuff on the chart, like a big ugly arrow, for example. Personally, I don't find them all that useful, but a lot of people like it. There's a whole bunch of different drawing tools related to maintenance of what you've drawn when you're moving throughout different charts. But again, not all of that is going to be all that useful. Here we have some position indications. I don't use those. That's going to be more for people who use an exchange that's actually integrated with TradingView, and I don't. So moving along, that pretty much sums up TradingView. I'll just do a quick example here of what can be done as far as the sharing goes. Just click on the camera there and let it load, and you've got a link right here that will bring anyone that you share the link with directly to your chart. The zoom will be as is when they get there. So if you're trying to illustrate something like this, send the link like this so they don't have to figure out what you're trying to say. And likewise, if you're sending them something like this, if you want them to see this, send this. And on the side here, we have a whole bunch of social tools. Alright, we've got some different chat rooms, some centered around cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin in particular, Forex, gold, binary options if you're into gambling, penny stocks, all of this kind of stuff. There's really a lot, so it's worth taking the time to look around, explore a bit. While we're on the subject of TradingView and the social aspect of it, one of the users on First Nation sent me a link to an interesting idea that somebody published on TradingView. The user on First Nation being Angle532, of course, and this is what he shared with me, and I just wanted to take a few moments to make sure that you all take a look. I'm going to be putting the link in the description of the video. It's definitely worth reading the entire thing. All very important aspects to trading that need to be kept in mind. First, touching on the idea that you need to know what you're doing before you jump into any kind of trade. After that, risk management, which will be a very important topic that we touch on a little later on. Basically, not putting all your eggs in one basket, going way beyond that and managing how much you're willing to risk on each trade, and the steps that you're going to take to make sure that your losses don't exceed what you were willing to risk in the first place. And finishing off with the idea of a lack of strategy, which is also very important. There's a reason that all of these different charting sites and analysis services exist, and that's that strategy is probably going to be the most important part, the most deciding factor in whether or not you win. If you don't have a plan, you're gambling. Uh, some people make off very well with gambling. Other people aren't so lucky. So if you're into rolling the dice, then go ahead and roll them. But if you approach the game with a good strategy, proper risk management, and an understanding of what it is that you're trading, then your chances of walking away with your money still in your pocket and even some extra are going to be much better. And moving along, that's not what I was looking for. One other thing, while on the topic of the Burst Nation forum, a user on Burst Nation has been incredibly helpful since he's shown up on the forum. Really, that user being Ping of Death, this guy right here, and Nameless was kind enough to start a thread offering a bit of compensation for Ping of Death, and actually added another user to that. Ping actually he created an entire series of tutorial videos on getting started with Burst, and they can all be found in the forum in the section right here. All Burst how-to videos in here. Let us teach you the easy way. Now, not every video in there is Ping's video. There are plenty of them, and there's going to just be more and more. So check that out. There's a lot of stuff to learn in there, and it's easy learning as far as learning goes. I'll be leaving a link to Nameless's post in the forum. All you have to do to make sure that this user, Thing of Death, is fairly compensated for all of the hard work that he puts into making new users at the Burst Nation forum succeed quickly, is go to that thread and give it a like. Again, link in the description, guys. And we'll move on to the next tool that we're going to be looking at, the Burst Wallet. This one is just as important as all of the others. We're going to go and take a look at the Asset Exchange, which is where we're going to be making our money with Burst Wallet. Sorry about that. So, as you can see, I'm not working with millions here. Burst Asset Exchange, pretty easy to use. It's just as easy as any other exchange I've ever used. If you do need a bit of a guide on getting to the wallet and getting around in it, Ping has a great video on that too. So basically, once you get into the exchange and start looking around, you're going to see that there's a lot of money to be made if you're looking at it properly. So just take a look at my assets right now, and I'll try and explain very briefly the idea behind how we're going to make most of our money in the Burst wallet here. So looking at the lowest ask and highest bid here gives us a really good quick glance at what's going on with the prices here. Now, I have a bit of the Flex asset here. The highest bid right now, 68, lowest ask, 76. There's a big difference between those two. And all of that is money that's lying on the table waiting for someone to pick it up. So why don't we do just that right now? Give you a quick example of how to go about it. Actually, as you can see, my tradable balance right now is 0, but we know I have 147. I placed a sell order here at 88 burst. And I fully expect that to hit fairly quickly. If we look here, there's one big order here, but the rest are pretty small, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to plow through that in no time. And if we look on the buy side, the highest buy price right now, the highest price that someone's willing to pay for it, is basically what that means, is 68. The difference between 68 and 76 is considerable. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at it as percentages, we're looking at a little over 10% there. This works just like any other exchange. You can buy and sell all day long. So why wouldn't we do that, right? I think Name has put out a video actually just recently on exactly this subject. Why are people leaving this money lying on the table? Personally, I can tell you that I have no intention of doing that, so we'll place an order right now just to give a good example of how to go about it. 68 is the current price, and there's only 16 being purchased at that price, which means that I can go ahead and put an order at the same price or even a bit lower, since there's a big gap here between 68 and 61. There's a whole bunch more coins for me just waiting for me to grab them. We'll put our order at 62. Really nice interface here. You can just click on the balance. It'll just pump out the numbers, tell you exactly how much you could buy. Since I'm not going to put every single penny into that, we'll just go with 25 right now. I always go with a slightly higher fee than the minimum. I do the same with all the coins that I use. Putting in the minimum fee, you should be fine, but just bumping the fee up a little bit does a whole bunch for the entire network, and will in most cases help you get your orders and transactions through faster. So that's just personal preference, but do it. So there you go. My order is going to sit here and wait until somebody sells into this, which never really takes all that long. We're not going to sit here and watch it, because it's not going to take seconds. It is going to take, best case minutes, but worst case, I'll probably see those those assets in my wallet tomorrow. And that's as simple as it is. We're not going to get into strategy right now, but that sums up how to use it. And back over here at the First Nation forum, we have the first Asset Explorer, which we will take a look at right now because it is another important tool. It takes a couple seconds to load, but it's well worth the wait. So over here on the left, we have all of the assets that are available on the Asset Exchange, including the assets that are total garbage. So don't just go buying anything just because you see big candles. We'll get more into what the candles actually represent and how to avoid being fooled by them a little later on. You can reverse the sort order if you're interested in assets that have absolutely no volume. Not recommended. So we'll start off, we'll take a look at Universe. I'm gonna go with that's right, it hasn't been around all that long. So we'll go with a 1 month time frame, and we'll see what the price is doing here. There was a lot of price action in the beginning. It's kind of tapering off right now, and that's perfectly normal. Take a look over here. We've got a high here of 284 and a low of 225. That's a heck of a lot of difference. Go over here, 260, 225. Slow day here, 259 and 230. Still fair amount of profit though. 36.62. Every single day there's at least 5% profit to be made trading Universe. 5% doesn't sound like a whole bunch, but this is just one asset, and we're talking about one trade giving 5%, right? You do this 4 times in a day, and that's 5% that you added to each trade every time it went through. So we're talking about a considerable profit every day, and Universe isn't the only asset that we have to look at. You can see here that trading has tapered off quite a bit. The prices are kind of tight here. There is still pretty good difference though, 16 and 18.9. That's about a 12, just under 12% difference in price, which is tons of profit. Again, we'll look at the casino asset, which is probably one of, well, definitely one of the most popular, might be the most popular asset going right now. Definitely the most paying as far as I know. Again, look at the highs and the lows. 395, 266. That's considerable. 291, 490. Somebody made a killing here. If they didn't, they're crazy. 350, 488, and it just goes on like that every day. So take your time, browse through here, get to know the assets and how the price moves on them. We're going to take a look at how to understand those charts a little better a little later on. Right now we're going to move on to Poloniex. Poloniex is one of the most popular altcoin exchanges, and there's good reason for that. There's a lot of volume. If we take a look at the bottom of the page, I think we'll have 24-hour volume for the exchange. 133,537 bitcoins in trading volume over the last 24 hours, plus a whole bunch of ETH, a whole bunch of Monero, and a whole bunch of USD Tether. That's a lot of money changing hands every single day here on Poloniex, and there are plenty of ways of making some of that money end up in your pocket. So basically we're looking at a chart like any other. The problem that I have with the chart on Poloniex is that there are no drawing tools. You have a few indicators here that you can add to the chart. Nothing major, not a lot of clutter, which is nice, but you can't do anything even as simple as drawing a line, which kind of sucks. It's not the end of the world, but you know, TradingView does come in handy quite often. And as we can see here, the candles don't look exactly like what we saw on TradingView. I don't have the exact same size either. It's a little closer to what we saw on the other charts. Poloniex has two different kinds of trading really, and they also have lending, which ties in with the margin trading. On Poloniex, I don't do a lot of margin trading. We will take a look at the margin trading side of it real quick right now. There are only a few coins that are margin traded, like I mentioned in my first video. They're chosen pretty much based on their trading volume. Poloniex is an exchange, so they need to make their money, right? They make money with trading fees. More volume equals more fees. So don't expect to see your favorite altcoin that trades at 2 or 3 bitcoins per day to show up on there anytime soon. How margin trading on Poloniex works is fairly simple. They offer 2.5 times leverage, which is safe but low. Generally, when you're into margin trading, you're going to be into seeing your profits go up a little faster than they will with 2.5 times leverage. But what advantage that does have is that it keeps your money a lot safer. It also makes it possible for Poloniex to offer this kind of trading on all these altcoins, which, as we can see, have a ton of volatility. Someone who would have had a buy position open on Ripple over the past few days, for example, could have made a fair amount of money, and just the back-end mechanics of making margin trading happen requires that Poloniex have a fair amount of funds and that there be a lot of trading volume. If these trading spikes happen and there isn't a lot of trading volume, it turns into all kinds of problems. We'll maybe get into why later on. It's not really important to us right now. Again, Trollbox, stay away. So if we take a look here, in order to margin trade anything on Poloniex, we need to transfer some funds into our margin trading account. It's still your Poloniex account. Your coins aren't going anywhere. They just need to be put in a separate area of your account so that you don't go and lose everything on a bad trade. There are a variety of coins that you can use to fund your margin trading. They correspond with the coins that you can actually trade in the margin trading. So now we can see that the balance, regardless of what I transfer, is going to be shown in Bitcoin, and I'm not going to touch this at all. I might want to take a look at this just to give a quick example of how to go about placing an order here. So, nope, I'm not comfortable with that either, to tell you the truth. I do plan on demonstrating a liquidation, but I don't plan on doing that today, so if I don't see a trade, I'm not going to get into one. Alright, so I don't know if you can see the line well. The crosshair is jammed. Poloniex gets a bit laggy when there's a lot of action. But if you can see my crosshair, it's sitting there at 0.01745. I'm going to place a buy order there, and we'll see if it hits a little later on before the video's over. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll have at least learned how to place the order. So again, clicking on the balance shows me max that I could get. I'm not going to do all of it. We'll just go with very small order. Hopefully it'll be large enough that the system will accept it. And we said 1745 because I'm pretty sure it's going to touch back there. I'm going to give myself a better chance. Raise that a bit to 1790. Current price is 18. Perfect. So the order is placed. You can go down here and see that the order is waiting for a seller to come along and sell into our order. When that happens, we'll see here some details about the order, and we'll have details about, well, not the details, but a summary of all of our margin account orders right here, with the total value, profit, loss, and lending fees. Speaking of lending fees, there is a lending option on Poloniex. You can offer the Bitcoin that you have in your account for lending, which is used by the traders using the margin trading. What margin trading is, in a very basic sense, is trading with money that you don't actually have. In order to do that, you need to borrow the money, which is where the lending comes in. So, since Poloniex makes plenty of money on everything else they do, I would imagine, they offer the lending, or some of the lending, to their users. You can set a rate at which you want to lend. If you do decide to get into lending, I would recommend that you take a look at the current rates and try to be competitive about it if you want your loan to ever happen. And you'll set the amount of Bitcoin that you want to actually put on loan here. If you loan your money out and someone is using it, you're not going to have access. That should make sense. So there you go. If you put your money on loan, expect it to be used. Of course, if you look at the duration, we've got 2 days, 2 to 60 days, 2 days, 2 days, 2 days. 2 days seems to be the standard, right? So put it for 2 days. You'll know when you get your money back because you can uncheck the auto renew box, and then you go ahead and offer your loan. I'm not going to do that because, in my opinion, with a very small amount of Bitcoin, getting into the lending is kind of a waste. I would much rather use the small amount of Bitcoin that I have to trade actively in the exchange section, where I know that I'll be able to get better returns than in the lending. If I had 100 Bitcoins lying around, I would probably put 10 into the lending just to create some passive revenue for myself. But I don't, and I don't need a passive revenue that totals 3 cents every 6 months, when I could be using that money to make a lot more than that on a daily basis. So we're back on the exchange section of Poloniex, and we're going to get back onto the burst chart here so that we can illustrate. Oh, pretty sure I can click that. Maybe I'm just going crazy. So we can illustrate how to go about placing the orders. Just want to point out something here. I'm, like I said earlier, a big fan of the Bollinger Bands, and want you to look at something that's looks like it wants to be going on right now. When the Bollinger Bands tighten up like this, after a period of being wide open, getting tight like this is compression of the price. It's like a spring loading, just waiting to pop. Now, knowing which direction it's going to pop is, there's a lot to get into there, but just know that when you see this kind of compression, and it's there every time, every time you see the price go wacky, you're going to see one of these periods of compression with a big pop on these Bollinger Bands. Here we can see that it takes its time going down. and I wanted to go into this as well, the Bollinger Bands, the longer that it looks like there's compression, the less of an impact you're going to see when in the up and down movement. But again, here, tightens up a bit, pops out, tightens up a bit, pops way out, and right now, looks to be doing the same thing. I'm expecting it to pop out of this in the upward direction, so we'll be keeping an eye on that in the days and weeks to come. Since it's burst, we'll probably be keeping an eye on that for a long time to come. Over here we have our selection of coins. There are a ton of them, and if you don't want to see all of them all the time, you can select certain ones to be bookmarked and just check off up here, show only the ones you want. Pretty useful if you have, say, 5 or 10 coins that you like to keep an eye on. Those coins can be spread out throughout this list, and there's a lot of coins in this list, so if you don't want to be scrolling back and forth all the time, do yourself a favor and set yourself some bookmarks. Alright, so we're going to take a look at how to go about placing the orders. I'm going to cancel the open order I have just so we can do this here. We're going to tighten this up a bit. We're going to take a look at what the price is doing. We know a bit, we have a pretty good idea because we're looking at it on TradingView, and I base most of my decision making and trading on the charting that I do on TradingView, not what I'm seeing on Poloniex. So the levels we were looking at were between 125 and 135, and as you can see, I mean, it looks pretty good here on Poloniex too. Got some pretty decent movement in there, and a lot of it. All of this movement is money in our pockets if we do it right. So we're going to start by placing a few buy orders, looking at where the price is right now. It's actually at a really good place. We're going to look in the order books a bit. The graphic here can be very deceptive. This shows us the what's called the market depth. This here represents the buy orders in the order books, and this represents the sell orders. So as you can see, there's more and more people selling their bursts as the price gets higher. And if we scroll down through the books, we can see that, you know, further we go down, the higher the price gets, which corresponds to what we're seeing over here. And same thing with the buy side. The lower the price gets, the deeper the market gets. And that's how it's going to be for everything. What you want to watch for in these animations here, which are pretty much just eye candy because the order books tell a much more detailed story than the picture does. You want to look for big dips in here. When you see that it drops from, say, this level here to that level there in very little space, that's because nobody wants to sell until it gets this high. So it's looking like it's going to want to pop up there. That's not what we're seeing right here. We're seeing it a bit, but not very pronounced. We'll maybe see something more similar to what I want to illustrate a bit later on. So looking at the order books themselves, pretty straightforward. Price over here, amount, value in Bitcoin, and this is the total which is accumulating through the orders going down. Same thing over here, price, total amount of coins being purchased, value in Bitcoin, and the sum of the orders going and accumulating throughout the book. Down here, if Poloniex is getting very laggy, what you can do to help yourself is select filter the order books a bit. So you can lower the number of decimals being shown. That'll round the orders off, less orders in the books. You see more of the books, and you see less of the crazy action between very small price ranges. For some reason it's not catching. Oh, I think I had to, have that checked. So we'll put it on 2 decimals here. For some reason it's still not doing it for me. I'll have to look into what's going on there a bit later. You can throttle the speed at which the books are updated. That'll lower the intensity of what's being asked of your browser, your system, so that you don't have to deal with quite so much lag. I recommend using this when it gets nasty in terms of lag on Poloniex, just because you could be in the middle of placing some kind of order and you get hit by some lag, and all of a sudden you realize that you didn't have time to place your stop limit order and you just lost a bunch of money because of lag, and there will be no recourse. Poloniex will not refund your money because of lag. Read the terms of service carefully. Is kind of important. So we're going to place an order now. The price ranges that we're looking at aren't going to change right now. We're going to stick with what we were seeing, and that was between 125 and 135. So we're going to start with 125. We'll buy 1,000 burst at that price. Simple as punching in the numbers, click OK, the order's placed. You go down here and check it out, and it's there waiting. We're going to go ahead and put another one at 126. $127. So we've got a few orders in here. You can keep track of them down at the bottom. You can see our trade history right there. And I've got some burst waiting here on the in my wallet, so that we can place some sell orders as well. So we're going to go with again increments of 1,000 burst. Over here we stopped at 127. Over here on the selling end, we're going to start at the top of our range, so 135. Sell 1,000 of them at that price. Sell, okay, simple as that. We'll go with 134. Sell, okay, and we'll do another one at 140, just for kicks. If that one hits, we're going to be happy. If it doesn't, well, it'll hit later. And if we need those coins for something else, we're always free to come down here to the bottom of the page and cancel the order. So this illustrates fairly well what we're doing on Poloniex. One thing here, the stop limit order. This is going to become fairly important to us a bit later on. Right now we're not going to worry about it. We're not going to get into that too much tonight, but I will place one to illustrate the general concept. First, a bit of explanation. Well, a lot of explanation. The stop limit order is it's basically an order that your well, its purpose is to prevent you from losing a whole bunch of money if the price dives, and help you make money if it spikes up out of nowhere. So the Poloniex explanation is actually really very good. Um, the basically, well, no, you know what? There's too much reading there. I'm going to ask you all to read all of that very carefully because it is all important, and I don't want this video to go an extra half hour for it. So definitely check out the stop limit order explanation on Poloniex before you place any orders. That's my recommendation. To get to that explanation again, go right down here to the stop limit box where it says what's this, click on it, it'll bring you straight there. Which brings me to BitMEX. There's a reason that I opened the BitMEX page to the liquidation explanation, because if you're going to be using BitMEX, you need to know what liquidation means and how it happens. To get to the liquidation explanation, it's very simple. You use the most important tab that there is on BitMEX, and that's the References tab. Once you log into your account, first thing you're going to see is the Trade tab, which is great for when you're ready to trade and make some money. You've got your account tab over here where you've got all kinds of various details on what you have in your account, what kind of orders you have open, settings, and what have you. Contracts. This, again, a very important page. There is an explanation for every kind of contract that is offered on BitMEX, and there are a lot of them. If you're going to play around with any of the other altcoins that they offer here on the trading tab, I would recommend looking into the contract explanation before you put your money into it. Some of the explanations can be fairly lengthy. There's a reason for that. There's a lot of money to be made doing this, and there's a lot of money to be lost doing this. Take your time and go through the information before you jump in. I'm not saying read every single contract, but if you're going to trade Bitcoin, read about Bitcoin. It's definitely worth it. You know, not all of the explanations are drawn out and extremely complex. This looks like a whole bunch of information here, but it's not that bad once you get down to actually looking at it. Now we're going to take a look at the references page. Again, in my opinion, the most important, the liquidation. Read this first, because this explains to you how you're going to lose your money. This is the thing that you need to avoid while you're trading. There's very thorough explanations of pretty much everything that's happening on this website, and there's a lot happening on the website. The mechanics of the trading that goes on the website is fairly complex. You need to understand a few different principles behind trading related to, well, whether it's the trading volume, order books, the difference between real orders and bullshit orders that are placed just to fill up the books, so to speak, and the implications of what you're seeing in the charts and what to expect. there's a reason that they took the time to document all of this. They do want their traders to succeed, and they do want you to continue to trade with them. So the more money you make, the more you want to trade with them, right? Take your time, read through anything that you're going to be using, and on the references page, do read as much as you can. It's all important. I know it seems like a lot, but if you consider that a trader that's working for a major trading entity will have studied more than a decade before getting to sit behind that trading desk, it's not all that much reading to do in the end. And if you plan on trading with a bot, they do have API available, so you can go ahead and take a look at that. I've never bothered spending money on a bot. A lot of people do it. I've considered it a number of times, but I don't do it right now. So if you want to do that, go ahead. I'm not going to be getting into it into my videos right now. So let's get over here to the trading section so we can take a look at how it works. Right now we're looking at the Bitcoin perpetual swap contract, which offers up to 100 times leverage. Over here we have a leverage slider. Be careful, this can be moved on a live trade. For example, right here I've got an open short position on Bitcoin. It is in profit right now, and let's see, I'm just going to move it a bit for fun. I'm going to bump it up to 100, and we're going to, actually before I do that, I'm going to point out a couple of things to look at. The size of your contract here, its value in Bitcoin, the price you got in at, liquidation price, very important to keep an eye on that. That's the price at which you lose your money. If right now, just for the example that I have open right here, liquidation price is at 11.58. I happen to have an order at 11.58, which is likely to hit after my liquidation. So I'm going to move that because my liquidation price actually changed while I was explaining stuff on these other websites. Using BitMEX, you need to be on top of your game. Like I just saw earlier, when I set my price at 11.80, sorry, at 11.60, my liquidation price was at 11.62, and I got back and it was $4 lower. So, you know, keep an eye on what's going on there. If you're margin trading with high leverage, you shouldn't really be walking away from anything unless you have a very thorough trading strategy and all of your stop orders in place. So right now, yeah, I do have enough slack to bump this up to 100 just to show you. In the middle of a live trade, my liquidation price just dropped to 11.48 from 11.58. My total margin, which is the amount that is actually being risked right now, is at 0.0008 Bitcoins. That's not a heck of a lot of money. I don't want to lose it though, because I don't have a lot in total. Right now I have 0.0003 Bitcoins in profit, which is 80% of what I put on my trade initially. So you can see that there is potential for a great deal of profit when trading with a high leverage. The thing is, the risk is incredible. If your stops aren't in place, you can get wiped out before you even realize that the price has moved. You don't even necessarily need to see the price move for a liquidation to happen to you. So we're going to place an order right now. This one I'm just going to go ahead and no, I'm not going to close it out because I want to be short on Bitcoin right now. So much so that I'm going to do it again. First thing I'm going to do though is drop my leverage back down to 50 times because I have no intention of leaving it at 100 right now. There's just too much volatility in the markets on Bitcoin these days. $20 moves happen out of nowhere, and that's normal for Bitcoin, but a $20 move for an order of the size that I have with 100 times leverage is way more than enough to liquidate my position. So I bumped it back down to 50. We can see that my margin went up because I'm now risking more to hold the same size of contract, which is $50. The way the BitMEX order system works is you purchase or sell a set number of contracts, each contract having a value of $1 US. So as we can see here, we've got options for quickly adding various amounts to our order. Right now we're not going to go crazy. We're going to add another $50 to our current $50 order. I would expect it to bounce a little bit here, but not a whole lot. I'm going to put my order at 1136.50, and we'll do this real quick. 1136.50, got an extra 3 in there. I would have been buying some very expensive Bitcoins, or selling some very expensive Bitcoins actually, sorry about that. So we set our price here, we set the number of contracts that we want, remember each contract being $1 US, and after we've decided our leverage, click on here, and perfect, this is great. Error submission order. Oh, I'll do that again so we get the message. The order cannot be submitted because the total margin requirement of 0.0009 is more than your available balance. As we can see here, I should have transferred some Bitcoins over, but I wanted to do this cheap, so it's a good thing. In that case, we'll kill this position right here and there. What I just did is pretty stupid. I was lucky to break even. I had 26 before and I have 26 now. The order books can be a lot thinner than they look in reality, and I just dumped into the market a $50 order. If the orders in the market had gone down much further, I could have lost up to 21, well, 0.0021 out of 0.0026 Bitcoin. But it does help me to illustrate a good point, because we saw here in my unrealized profit that I had +3 and -1 in the realized profit and loss, which is calculated every certain number of hours depending on which kind of contract you're getting into. And I ended up breaking even. I did not end up with a profit of 0.002 or 0002. I ended up breaking even because the order books were thin enough for my order to push the price down that far. Now we're going to look for a place to get into another position. Again, I'm thinking it's going to go down, and I'm going to place an order accordingly. We'll go for 1140 right now. There's been a bit of movement while I was talking, so my hold price does not please me anymore. Now remember what I was saying about levels finding themselves again. Try and look at the chart and see where these levels are. On BitMEX, we've got the same drawing tools as we do on TradingView. There's a reason for that. The charting is linked. So I set my price to 1140. Set the number of contracts I want, 50. Tells me here how much it's going to cost me. And I'll go ahead and place my order. Gives me a confirmation page so I can make sure before I jump in. And very important, when you see the confirmation page, look at the estimated liquidation price, because you need to keep an eye on that. If you think that the liquidation price is going to hit before it goes in the direction that you're betting on, it's probably not a good idea to take that trade, and you should probably cancel it with this button here. I'm happy with mine though. So that could take a while to hit. It could take 2 seconds. We're not going to sit and watch, but we will take a look at a couple of the other coins that we have on here, just so you can get an idea of what the charting is going to look like on these other coins on BitMEX. All of these can be searched for on TradingView. The TradingView platform is a bit less resource intensive while you're charting, just because they don't have the whole trading side of it going on. You can cut down on the animations that are being shown on BitMEX, but in my experience it doesn't really change all that much. So I like to do my charting on TradingView rather than BitMEX. Again, TradingView being my fave for drawing my doodles. And still hasn't hit. That could be a few minutes. We're not going to sit here and wait for it. We will, however, go back over here and see if any of our orders hit. We had 3 on each side. They're all still there, which is not the end of the world. If we zoom in a bit here, things seem to have slowed down a bit, which is fine. At worst, we're going to get some sleep, and when we come back in the morning, our trades will likely mostly be gone. I'm just going to get into this chart a bit closer here, just zooming in so we can take a look at a smaller time frame. And again, we see the Bollinger Band tightening up. It's a little less a little less easy to apply the Bollinger Bands to altcoins. Bitcoin seems to follow along very well. Most altcoins I find do not. You just end up with a mess on your chart. So I don't really recommend using the Bollinger Bands for all of your altcoins. Some of them can display signs of the Bollinger Bands being applicable some of the time. Not enough for it to be considered consistent, so not enough to base a trading strategy on. That pretty much sums up everything I wanted to go over on the various exchanges. that I'll be using in the videos. If ever I decide to get onto any of the other exchanges, because there are a ton of them out there, then I'll definitely explain usage and go through any pertinent details at that time. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll have another video out for you as soon as possible. See you next time.